Hello and welcome back to my channel. How are you all going? Well, last week, I think, or one day last week, Justice Lee was presiding over the Bruce Lehrmann matter, but it was about Channel 10 and Lisa Wilkinson over costs and everything. But Justice Lee has famously said he's finished with this matter. He can put it to bed finally after 2 years. There's been some other revelations about the Ben Roberts-Smith, because that's under appeal as well. Bruce Lehrmann's appeal has appealed, because that's what you do if you that's the right of everybody, that you appeal. Hello, Plan to Create. Did you happen to see it, or did you happen to watch it? So I think it happened late. But there has been, so this is all over costs. I mean, it doesn't really concern Bruce Lehrmann, but it's under his matter. So when it's under his matter, it's listed as, it's still listed Bruce Lehrmann versus Channel 10 and Laws. Bruce Lehrmann, Channel 10 and Laws. So this was a Friday, 21st, Friday. So he now hopefully has some element of common sense can break out after enter long-running case. So we've got the players here. We've got Bruce Lehrmann. This is Lisa Wilkinson, and this is Justice Lee, who has become somewhat of a cult hero. He's also presided over another high-profile case that's live streamed. But it's been more than 2 years since Bruce Lehrmann filed a defamation suit in the federal court, sparking a high-profile trial. Michael Lee, somewhat of a legal celebrity. I did think he had a little bit of sass, which I liked, and I did to cricket, because being a cricket fan, I understood a lot of it. But the man with the much admired turn of phrase was not going to have any further disputation when asked to rule this week on whether Network 10 should pay Lisa Wilkinson's legal costs. So although Bruce Lehrmann was found to have lost the case and was responsible for costs, there was arguments over whether Network 10 needed to pay Lisa Wilkinson's costs and then bill that to Bruce Lehrmann, or whether they had to be paid separately. So that's really what this was about. I'm not having anything more to do with it, Lee told counsel for Network 10 and Wilkinson. I'm finished with the matter. After all, he had presided over a 5-week trial, which was live streamed on YouTube, listened to dozens of witnesses, examined hundreds of exhibits, and wrote a 324-page judgment. So why was he back in court with the two respondents who had won? Although the parties agreed to settle Wilkinson's legal costs for separate representation at the trial for $1.15 million, the former project host now wanted 10 to pay legal costs of months of arguing over costs. Clearly irritated, Lee said each party should pay for their own costs. So Channel 10 had said, we will pay for your representation, but now they were arguing over who should pay over the arguments of the costs. So it looks like Justice Lee has said you can each pay your own costs. For the purposes of bringing this long-standing matter to its final conclusion and sparing both myself and the court being required to have any further involvement at this stage, I will make no orders as to cost. I do not find either party acted unreasonably, but this is not the same as concluding each party acted equally reasonably in engaging with the process. Given the nature of the dispute, it is regrettable it took so long for Ms. Wilkinson to make an offer, which even when it came, would, even if accepted, had perpetuated the aspect of disputation. Now that this has been resolved, some element of common sense can break out between the parties. Lee has now exited the Lehrmann and Channel 10 and Wilkinson matter, which is under appeal, and several other legal actions emerging from Lehrmann's case will continue. Now, what also happened is there has been an investigation into the Canberra criminal matter that was messed up. So while Lee has now, this week, the former Queensland judge Walter Skoronoff, was found to have engaged in serious corrupt conduct by the ACT Integrity Commission, which reviewed his inquiry into the prosecution of Lehrmann. So there was an inquiry into the prosecution of Lehrmann, which had cast some aspersion on the district, the Attorney General, whoever, I've just lost his name, over the prosecutor, and his reputation was in tatters. But now they've found that the person that conducted the inquiry engaged in serious corrupt conduct. A trove of emails and text messages revealed the Australians Janet Alberson and Soronoff had 273 interactions over the inquiry's 7 months, including 51 phone calls, text messages and emails, and a private lunch meeting in Brisbane. The former judge also spent 7.5 hours on the phone to the Australian during the inquiry, many of which were with this journalist. In a fresh legal action filed this week, he's asked the federal court to overturn the corrupt findings against him. So let's have a look. So yes, I'll send you the transcripts. So there was a series of emails between the person doing the investigating and the journalist. Because the Lehrmann trial in 2023 didn't proceed, and so they did an inquiry into that. So there was a load of emails, and the chain of communication released by the ACT Supreme Court on Wednesday revealed the pair exchanged frequent phone calls, regularly shared documents and phone numbers, and lunched together. The documents were tendered as part of the former top prosecutor Shane Drumgold's partially successful challenge. That's it, Shane, the top prosecutor, to his inquiry findings about him, in which the judge ruled there was a section of bias by Soronoff due to the 273 interactions he had with Alberson in a 7-month period. So they also showed that the journalist also had received a copy of the report earlier. They also show of another masthead staff, the Australian editorial director, wrote a series of emails to support the judge after he was criticised. So the decision to send the inquiry's draft report to select journalists ahead of its official release is now the subject of a corruption investigation by the ACT Integrity Commission. So there's far-reaching aspects of that. Which is pretty, I mean, when the top people messing about, it doesn't give you much confidence. Then we've got this one, a Nine reporter claiming unethical behaviour on the Ben Roberts-Smith case. So a journalist who was part of the defamation, who was sued for defamation by Ben Roberts-Smith, and they won. Now they're saying that there are secret tapes being released, claiming he had engaged in unethical behaviour by obtaining information about Ben Roberts-Smith's legal strategy during the Afghanistan veterans defamation case. In bombshell revelations, investigative reporter Sherry Marston reported she had obtained a secret recording in which Mackenzie says Roberts-Smith's ex-wife, Emma Roberts, and her friend had been actively briefing us on legal strategy in respect to a witness. The witness was a woman Mackenzie was trying to convince to give evidence for Nine in its defamation suit brought by the Victoria Cross winner after the company's newspaper accused him of committing war crimes in Afghanistan. So what happened here is that he sued a series of publications, Channel 9 and journalists, for alleging that he was a war criminal. Now, as that happened, it was Judge Anthony Bazenko found the allegations made against Ben Roberts-Smith that he committed serious war crimes, including M, during raids in Afghanistan in 2009 and 2012 was substantially true, because they all used the truth defense. And they had multiple witnesses that all had pseudonyms. So there was witness X and Y and Z and B and J and everything. So so in recordings that, and Sky News, of course, did it. So in 2021, Mackenzie admits knowing Robert Smith's legal strategy and saying it had been helpful in Nine's case. In the recordings aired on Sky, Mackenzie says, "You about Danielle and Emma, like trying to tell you again, I know you won't burn me, so do not tell Dean, please, or Monique, Nine's lawyers, or anyone I've told you this. You know, the fact that they're actively like briefing us on his legal strategy in respect of you. We anticipated most of it, one or two things we know, which is helpful, but at the point, the reason I told you that was to say, like, you know, we've got this, and they're not hostile to you despite your worst fears. I told you that so many times now as well, I had to tell you that extra bit to prove it in your mind. I shouldn't tell you this, I breached my swear word ethics in doing that. It has put me in a swear word position now. Like if Dean knew and Peter knew that, I'd get my expletive handed to me on the platter." So he was referring to the 9 lawyers from Minter Allison. So during the trial, he launched a separate defamation case against Miss Roberts, his ex-wife, alleging she accessed an email account he used for confidential legal correspondence about the case. He alleged that the information landed in the laps of 9 lawyers and had potentially contaminated the case. Mr. Roberts admitted she allowed her friend Danielle Scott to access Miss Roberts' Smith email account, but only in relation to the breakdown of the marriage. That legal challenge was dismissed, with the judge finding the evidence relied upon goes no further than bare possibilities and suspicions. However, the secret recordings now show that it may have actually happened. A Nine statement told the publication, having reviewed the audio clip with the support from external counsel, we can confirm there is no breach of legal privilege or ethical concerns. Nine has the confidence in reporting and actions of Nick Mackenzie, an award-winning reporter who enjoys the respect and admiration of his editors and colleagues in the newsroom. They're just waiting for the appeal. Now, I don't know whether that, I don't believe, I mean, it could come up in an appeal, but I don't know. I'm not sure whether the statute of limitations will appear, form part of that. Because it was 2021. I don't know how that I'm assuming that everyone has taken legal advice on that. But it's just interesting the extent that some journalists will go. And talking about our famous journalists, yeah, we get to wowzers. Our favourite journalist. She went live the other day, I saw, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. Anyway, it's just, she calls herself an independent journalist, Mummy Sleuth now. Interesting. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to share with you, is all of that about all the update in the legal cases. Brittany Higgins had a little baby boy, so she was the one that was behind the she was the one that, you know, I'm just trying to, she was the one that was the victim in the Bruce Lehrmann, the alleged victim, I should say. But they've welcomed their first child. So a huge thank you to the amazing midwives, nurses, doctors for your care. We look forward to getting to dote the newest member of the family. They purchased a home in rural France but they had to sell that. she said she received about 1.9 million after legal fees. She received the payment from the ACTR trial of her former colleague. It was aborted. So there's the little baby. So they listed their house for sale because they had to cover the legal costs because Linda Reynolds sued them for defamation. But they plan to live in Melbourne with their son to be close to friends. The couple were married on the Gold Coast. They've not revealed the name of their son. But yes, she's had a little boy. So there is some good news out of all of that, is that she's been able to move. She's married and now has had a child and is settling back in Melbourne. I believe they had to sell it because I don't know, we're still waiting for the Higgins-Reynolds result to come out. I think that finished September last year. So I'm assuming that's going to be complex. Very complex, sorry. All right. So I'm going to head off, and thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you again next time. I might be on later. I'm just going to catch up with some other stuff to see what other people are doing, but I wanted to just give you some update on the Bruce Lehrmann stuff because that's really exciting. Okay. Can't wait for the Reynolds result. Yeah, the Reynolds result is going to be interesting. I think maybe there's a part of me that's wondering whether Reynolds has lost, but the judge is trying to work out the implications because she's still actually currently a sitting member of Parliament, although the next federal election she's supposed to retire. There must be outraging consequences. And I don't know whether, and don't forget, he's also got criminal charges that he's dealing with as well. So I don't know whether that plays a part in it, whether what Justice Lee has indicated has a part in it. Because technically they're all supposed to be separate, dealt with as a separate thing but it's sort of it's linked to all those other cases, and so it's a really complex and complicated matter, which had stuff which they referred to the other matters. So yeah, it's above my pay grade to even work out how that could go or if there's any implications. However, that could have implications on further results because, it may have implications on the criminal aspect, for example, although they can't actively come up. If they come to character, like if they say, well, if there is a mention of Lehrmann's character, then of course, then they can bring up the civil matters. And don't forget, he's also got a matter in Tasmania as well for the vehicle theft. So he's sort of, I wonder whether he could get into every court in Australia. That could be an agreement. But anyway, I guess the news is that Justice Lee is now finished with the Bruce Lehrmann case. He can now rest easy. He can put that to bed. And he doesn't need to worry about it anymore because the appeal now is under somebody else. So anyway, that's everything that I've got for you today. I will catch you again next time. Bye for now.